Hi everybody. So by now you should have seen or perhaps you saw the last video when I was out coming down out of Trail Pass and on the way home, and an explanation of why I left the trail. And so there have been some things that I've thought about, especially the last few days, of what could I have done different to give myself a better chance. And if it looks like if I'm looking to one side, is because I have it on selfie mode. It's easier to compose the video. The other way, I don't know if I'm looking, if I'm even capturing me. Anyway, so what do I think that I could have done different? Well, there's often a question that is asked that is, how do I prepare for a thru hike, or how do I train for a thru hike? And there are several things that, several different answers to that that people offer on social media. They often say things like work on your core, or they'll say do some cardio training, or they'll say something like carry your full pack, hike around it, your neighborhood with that, or go to work with a full pack. Things like that. And I think that all those things are fantastic ideas. In 2019, Oliver and I did the 6-pack of peaks of 2019 to train for the 2020 PCT, and we did several hikes in between those big, huge mountains here in Southern California. So I was pretty well physically trained, and I had not yet had my heart attack. It doesn't, however, train you mentally. But I think all those ideas are really good. Now, my answer to how do you train for a thru hike, and some people are going to say that doesn't make any sense. The best way of training for a thru hike is by attempting a thru hike. That is my answer to that. And so, yeah, all these other things are good for the initial attempt of a thru hike. I've seen a lot of people that seem to have a better speed, seem to have a better comfort out on the trail. They had either done the Colorado Trail, or they had done the Appalachian Trail. They have done the PCT. Several had attempted the PCT 5, 6, 7 times. I'm thinking of Cheez-It. I think he attempted it. This would be his 6th attempt, I think. And so that's what I think. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I would not have found out about my shoes unless I attempted a thru hike. Doing overnighters and doing day hikes, even with a heavy backpack, if you're going to do it, just would not have put that much pressure on my feet for me to know that something is wrong. I'm not stretching enough, and I have the wrong shoe. Okay, unless I would have tried something very long. It took, I would say, 2 sections for that to develop into the 3rd section. Probably, I would say, section B. By the end of section B, I was already having that trouble. Now, how would I have been able to determine that if I was training around the neighborhood or training at the gym or whatnot? I wouldn't have been able to. The other thing is I realized that I'm more of a coal soaker. I have 3 stoves. I have the original Pocket Rocket, I have the Pocket Rocket 2, and I have the Soto Windmaster. And out of those 3, I like the Pocket Rocket 2 better. But what I found myself doing most of all is coal soaking, and out of my Chalente jar. The majority of the time I did eat some hot meals here and there, but most of it was coal soaking. Even the meals that I would have done on a burner in the stove were coal soaked. So now, what would I have done different? First thing that I would have done different is to stretch my feet a lot more. My feet, the plantar of my feet, the calves, my legs in general, and roll them out a lot more. It's one of the things that I would have done. If I would have known about the shoe, I would have started with a shoe that has more support on the bottom and more comfort, as far as not necessarily comfort as far as uh, foamy type of cloudy feeling, comfort, but a shoe like the I ended up with the Arcadia, Brooks Arcadia. Um, it offered more support than the Topo Ultra Venture, or should I say, Trail Venture. And I would have gone with a shoe that gave me more support, but yet still comfortable. So stretching, I would have done more of that. A better shoe, I would have done more of that. Another thing that I believe I would have done is attempted to get even lighter. I did several attempts at going lighter, but I wasn't going to go out there and spend any more money on a sleeping bag. I already spent about $600 on the Western Mountaineering Versalite, which I think is a fantastic sleeping bag, and I don't have a problem with a sleeping bag. If it was a colder year, that would have been a fantastic choice. As hot of a year as this was, and dry of a year as this was, I wouldn't have minded having a something that can enlighten equipment. Enigma or Revelation, something 20 or even a 30 degrees quilt would have been fine. That would have lowered some of the weight. The Lunar Solo, I'm super pleased with it. I don't think I need to go lighter than that for what that offered. I'm very satisfied with the Superior Wilderness Designs rugged long haul 50. I would have just chucked the stove from the beginning, the pot and the fuel. It would have just cold soaked all the way. So I would have tried to do something to get lighter. I always carried an extra set of socks, but I never used an extra set of socks. I always carried, at first I carried a very light Adidas shorts. Later on I carried the rain pants, got rid of the quilt. I thought it was going to be a rainy rain, so it didn't rain on me. It only rained on me one time, the very last day. I believe it was the very last day it rained on me. It rained one time down in Mission Creek about 3 or 4 in the morning, but not on me, on my tent, and then it stopped by the time I got out. So I didn't see any rain at all. But how is one supposed to know? That's one of the problems. So I think I would have gone more with no extra socks and no extra shorts or rain pants. I would have taken my rain jacket, which I think is a very light one, Montbell, the Versalite, I think it's called, and I would have gone with something like that because it was light and very good, and I used it more of a windbreaker than anything else. And so I would have changed that. I would have done more on my feet, because the time that I had to take off to repair this plantar fasciitis really set me back. Now, I'm a slow hiker, but I'm not that slow. Okay, I think I kind of maybe overstressed that I'm kind of a slow hiker. I have a short stride and a slower cadence, but I choose to hike that way, and that's fine. I can still put the 24 miles was the longest I did during this through hike attempt. I can do a 30-mile day. That's not a problem, and it all depends also on the climbing. But it just takes me longer, which has more time on my feet, which puts more stress on my feet and my body. The other thing that I would have changed is that I would not have carried so much food. So, stretching, the proper shoe, gone a little bit lighter weight, and not carrying as much food. Okay, those are 4 things that I would have done. One of the problems with the food at the beginning is not knowing exactly. This is why I say to prepare for a thru hike, you should attempt a thru hike first, because you just don't know. Even doing backpacking, you don't know. There's no way to know by doing a overnight backpacking, 2-night backpacking, 3-night backpacking. You're not going to know what to carry on a thru hike, how much food to carry on a thru hike. Because you don't know how many miles you're going to put. You don't know how many, are you going to get off here at this point? Are you not going to get off at this point? There's a lot of things that you don't know until you do sections after sections after sections. And then I found out, if I were to show you my beer canister right now, for a 6 to 7 days, my initial plan was to go to Kearsarge Pass from Kennedy Meadows, the last stretch. And I carried way more food than I needed to carry. I had like 40 more miles to do to get to Kearsarge Pass, and my beer canister was still full. And it's something that it's not packing your fears. A lot of times people watch YouTube videos like this or on social media, and they learn these buzzwords like you pack your fears. Well, a lot of times in a way you do, but it's not about packing your fears. It's like, I think this is what I'm going to eat. I think this is, and then you learn for yourself how much you really eat by doing it, not by hearing somebody else or anything like that. By actually doing it. But how many times do people in their working years have 2 weeks to take off to do a hike and try to figure out how much they're going to do in 2 weeks? It's kind of hard to say. So I would have carried less food. Now, one that for me is kind of difficult to I think this is very personal for the individual. I live about 49 miles away from Warner Springs, about 40 or so miles away from Paradise Valley Cafe, about the same from Idlewild. I live 45 minutes away from by car from the I-10, mile 209.5. I live about an hour and a half away from Cajon Pass. So for the first 340 miles, and I live about from Scissors Crossing about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from Scissors Crossing. One of the problems for me is that it's so easy to go home for a 0, and it ends up being 2 zeros. So one of the things that I would have changed is normally taking 1 0 whenever I took 2. And I did find a lot of people. You hear a lot of things from social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So many people don't have YouTube videos. They don't blog. You don't ever hear what they do. I got to see what they did. There are people that stayed days and days and days in some of these towns. And I didn't really take that many days when I wanted to 0 or double 0. It was the injury days that I took off that were hard, and being that I was so close to home, it was so easy to stay home longer than if I would have been in a hotel. Because a hotel costs more money than staying home. Although I ended up spending a lot more money when I was home, because when you're home, go to Costco, go here, go there, and I spend a lot of money from home that I wouldn't otherwise have in a hotel. So it's very difficult to say. So to sum that point up, I would say I would have come home less. Scissors crossing, I wouldn't have come home. Idlewild, I didn't come home. The I-10, maybe or not. I don't know. It's hard to say if I would have come home or not. If I would have decided to come home or not. That probably would have been a good point to take a couple of days off. And then Big Bear, I didn't come home. Cajon Pass, I came home. But Cajon Pass, I wouldn't have come home. Big Bear, like I said, I didn't. Now, some of these times that I came home were because of the injury. So I would have done, that's why I'm saying that one of the things I would have done differently is stretch and use a different shoe. Try the best that I could not to have this problem. And then one thing that I would not have been able to control is when I finally left. You know how my heart was beating fast when I went to lay down, and also the skip beats that I was kind of concerned about. That I couldn't change. So those things, if I were to do them again, that's what I would have changed, and that would have permitted me to get further on down if I didn't have this plantar fasciitis. It would have made it so I could have gone further on down, and then got through this here with the bubble, and hopefully not have this heart issue. Otherwise, I would have gone off anyway. Once I would have passed the Sierra, then I think things would have gone much easier, because the Sierra gives you a high elevation for a longer period of time, and I think that's one of the things that got to my condition. Now, I could have gone off Trail Pass into Lone Pine, taken an overnighter, gone the Sierra Transit, gone up to Mammoth, and then from there gone up into started hiking to Tuolumne Meadows, and you know, it would have been basically off, pretty close to being off the Sierra, and kept on going. I could have done that, but I explained in the different in the other videos why I got off, and it just got to the point where it wasn't practical for me to do that. I didn't think so. Okay, so I'll try to edit this video so that it doesn't talk so much. It's already 17 minutes, and put out those 5 points that I mentioned, and I'll put them, see if I can put those in the end, or as I speak about them, to narrow those things down. Because I think you got to give yourself the best chance to get through a through hike in order to make it so you can go from point A to point B. Okay, if that's what your goal is. Many people, that's not their goal. A lot of people is enjoying the journey, and then the longer the journey, the better it would be, right? But that's not always the case. Anyway, okay, thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and hopefully this gave a little bit of information to what might help you to prepare for a through hike. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things. It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say what exactly would be the right formula for everybody. But anyway, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this. All right, thank you.